Today we're putting everything we actually know about The Elder Scrolls 6 on the table. Why has this game one we've been waiting on for years with nothing but a single teaser been missing for so long? What has Bethesda been doing this whole time? And what kind of game is Elder Scrolls 6 really promising us? We're going to talk about it not through rumors, but through official statements and strong, credible clues. And before we jump in, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, alright? Let's start. When you talk about The Elder Scrolls 6, you have to be clear about one thing. This game might still be far away, but it's not a project that Bethesda has completely gone silent on either. The biggest thing we know going into 2026 is that the game has moved past pre-production, meaning Elder Scrolls 6 is no longer at the "we'll make it someday" stage. It's an actively developed game that people are working on daily. And like Todd Howard has said very openly, even if hundreds of people at the studio are working on Fallout projects, Elder Scrolls 6 is still one of the main topics on Bethesda's table every single day. But active development doesn't mean it's close. The official window that gets mentioned is 2026 or later, and the signals coming from inside the industry point more toward 2027. The biggest reason for that is Starfield. Bethesda doesn't see Starfield as a one-and-done game. They see it as a platform that will be supported for a long time, and even after Shattered Space, we already know more content is on the way. And that shows Elder Scrolls 6 isn't being rushed. It's being stretched out on purpose and managed deliberately. On the platform side, we still don't have a fully clear picture, but there are some strong probabilities. We can say with confidence that Elder Scrolls 6 is coming to Xbox Series X, S, and PC. A day one Game Pass launch is basically a lock. The real question mark is PlayStation. After Microsoft bought Bethesda, the FTC documents made it seem like the game would be Xbox and PC focused, but comments from Todd Howard and Phil Spencer point less toward fully locked out and more toward an approach like first or best experience on Xbox. And the fact that Oblivion Remastered came to all platforms in 2025 also suggests we shouldn't completely erase the PlayStation possibility. As for trailers, the situation is very clear, and honestly, kind of painful. We still only have that first 36-second teaser shown at E3 back in 2018. No gameplay, no characters, no story, no world details, just a landscape, a logo, and years of waiting. Bethesda hasn't really updated that teaser since, and clearly, that tells us the studio is saving the marketing push for the later stages of development. So, where does the game take place? There's no official confirmation, but every clue we've seen so far points to Hammerfell. The geography in the teaser, the mysterious map images Bethesda has shared, the placement of candles, and even the fact that in Oblivion, remastered players can travel right up to Hammerfell's borders without issues, none of that feels like one big coincidence. Hammerfell with its deserts, coastal cities, political conflicts, and Redguard culture gives Bethesda a massive playground both visually and narratively. When we look at the technical side of Elder Scrolls 6, the center of everything is Creation Engine 2. We know it from Starfield, but according to Bethesda, Elder Scrolls 6 is the game that will show the engine's real potential. The most important point Todd Howard has made is this. While Elder Scrolls 6 is being developed, the engine is constantly being tested, and at every stage they're asking, is this system enough for this game? So they're not going to copy-paste Starfield's tech. There will be major additions and changes tailored to what Elder Scrolls 6 actually needs. And the important part here isn't graphics, it's system depth. Bethesda's real focus is world interaction, NPC behavior, physics systems, and long-term consequences from player decisions. Howard saying, "We have to design this game to be played for at least 10 years isn't random. Skyrim still sells, it's still played, and Bethesda understands exactly why. The goal with Elder Scrolls 6 isn't just to repeat that, it's to push it further. That's why Elder Scrolls 6 probably won't be a classic, finish the story and move on kind of game. Most likely, the choices we make at the start, the path we pick, even the side quests we ignore could impact the main story later. Bethesda's sandbox role-playing philosophy, something they've leaned into more and more in recent years, could show up in Elder Scrolls 6 inches a much sharper and more defined way. Meaning everyone's Elder Scrolls 6 won't actually be the same game. And that's one of the big reasons the wait has been so long. Bethesda doesn't want to be a studio that just repeats the old formula with small updates anymore. With Starfield, they built a new universe. With Elder Scrolls 6, they want to redefine a franchise they haven't touched in years using modern tech. And that takes time because what they're building isn't just a game. It's a foundation meant to carry the next decade. This is also where fan theories come in. Years ago, rumors started with the Redfall trademark and spiraled into theories about a plague in Tamriel, Daedric Prince, Periite, and High Rock connections. Even though Redfall turned into a different game, these theories still show us something important. Bethesda is giving very little information on purpose, and they're letting the community fill the empty space. A big part of Elder Scrolls 6's mystery is fueled by that gap. If Elder Scrolls 6 really does take place in Hammerfell, that would be an unusual but very intentional choice for Bethesda. Skyrim was built around a cold, harsh, isolated northern atmosphere. Hammerfell is the complete opposite: warmer, more political, and culturally far more complex. The Redguards, their conflicts with the Empire, past wars with the Thalmor, and a history packed with internal power struggles, all of that strengthens the idea that Elder Scrolls 6 could lean less on dragons and more on power balances and factions. And that would directly impact gameplay too. Since Hammerfell is a region that opens to the sea, sailing and ship mechanics could finally play a serious role in a mainline Elder Scrolls game. Port cities, pirate groups, trade routes, and threats coming from the sea could make the world feel much more dynamic. And Bethesda's experience with open spaces and travel systems in Starfield could become the base for those mechanics in Elder Scrolls 6. Another major point is city design. Skyrim's cities were atmospheric but limited in scale. With Elder Scrolls 6, people are talking about Bethesda aiming for bigger, more alive cities with NPC routines that genuinely feel lived in. Additions to Creation Engine 2 could allow more characters on screen at once, more complex behaviors, and chained events that ripple outward. So when you enter a city, you don't just grab quests, you actually feel like you're stepping into a functioning system. So why Elder Scrolls 6 instead of Fallout 5? Todd Howard has answered this indirectly many times. For Bethesda, Elder Scrolls isn't just a series, it's the core brand that defines the studio's identity. Skyrim's still selling, the mod community still being active, and players staying in this universe for years. All of that pushed Elder Scrolls 6 into a point where it can't be delayed forever. While Fallout is doing fine, the silence on the Elder Scrolls side became impossible to maintain. That's why Bethesda is positioning Elder Scrolls 6 not as the next game, but as the cornerstone of next-gen Bethesda RPGs. The long development time doesn't look like a delay, it looks like a deliberate investment. And every message Bethesda has put out so far points to one thing: when Elder Scrolls 6 launches, it won't just be a new Elder Scrolls game, it'll be an experience that's trying to redefine the genre. Bethesda staying this quiet about Elder Scrolls 6 doesn't really feel like weak marketing, it feels like a deliberate strategy. Instead of showing the game piece by piece for years and letting expectations inflate uncontrollably, the studio seems to prefer stepping on stage only when development has reached a certain maturity. And if you look at Todd Howard's messaging over the last few years, "Don't talk when there's nothing to show," has basically become a principle for Bethesda. And that suggests this: when we finally see Elder Scrolls 6 again, it probably won't be just another cinematic trailer. We'll likely get clear looks at gameplay systems, world design, and core mechanics too. In other words, we can say the show a logo and disappear era is behind us. Once Bethesda starts the real reveal cycle, it'll be a point of no return, and we'll start seeing steady information on the road to launch. On the player expectation side, the bar is insanely high. Skyrim isn't just a game, it became a shared memory for an entire generation. For Elder Scrolls 6, not to get crushed under that legacy, Bethesda has to take risks. Deeper role-playing systems, tougher long-term consequences, and mechanics that truly connect the player to the world aren't optional anymore, they're mandatory. Otherwise, Elder Scrolls 6 becomes the game people describe with, "It's good, but it's not Skyrim." And it's very clear Bethesda is trying to avoid that. At this point, the existence of Elder Scrolls Online is also a huge advantage. Keeping the Tamriel universe alive for years on the MMO side creates a ready-made lore foundation for Elder Scrolls 6. Bethesda won't have to explain every detail from scratch in the main game. Instead, they can present the world as a living, continuing universe. That can make Elder Scrolls 6 more meaningful not just for new players, but for people who've been living in this universe for years. In the end, Elder Scrolls 6 isn't just the next Bethesda game, it's Bethesda's Prove Yourself Again project.
The long wait, the silence, and the uncertainty can be frustrating, but it really does look like this process is being managed intentionally.
When Elder Scrolls 6 finally comes out, the goal won't be to simply replace Skyrim, it'll be to set the RPG standards for the next 10 years. And maybe that's exactly why Bethesda isn't rushing. So, to sum it up, Elder Scrolls 6 doesn't look like just a new game, it looks like Bethesda trying to redefine itself. The long wait, silence, and uncertainty can be annoying, but it really seems like the studio is building this game to carry a whole generation. The real question isn't when is it coming out anymore, it's when it does. Can it actually meet expectations? What do you expect from Elder Scrolls 6? And do you think Hammerfell is the right choice? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.